The civilization of every great city was nurtured by a mighty mother river. The winding Tamsui River was the river that nurtured civilization in northern Taiwan, as well as being the artery through which the blood of industrial development flowed. On its 100-kilometer journey, it first gives birth to this uniquely charming riverside town before flowing into the sea. This is Tamsui, a town with a history of hundreds of years. The mountain scenery of Guanyin Mountain and the sunset over the Tamsui River has been lauded by numerous artists and poets over the ages, and still mesmerize visitors from all over the world. In the momentous times of the era of navigation, this harbor was once like Venice of the East, filled with ships with many precious commodities traded here. Tamsui is located at the mouth of Taiwan's largest river system, a special geographical position guarding the gateway to Taiwan that was coveted by various world powers throughout history. Over 100 years, the Ketagalan Aborigines, the Han Chinese, Europeans, and the Japanese settled here in succession. It was a place where modern construction was carried out, in many cases a first for Taiwan, and it also served as the stage on which Eastern and Western culture collided. The faces of numerous outsiders have been reflected in the shimmering water of the Tamsui River. The diverse historical buildings and cultural assets left behind have become the highlights of the riverbank and made Tamsui a potential UNESCO World Heritage Site. What exactly is the charm of Tamsui that allows it to attract people from all around like a magnet? How many tracks have been left here by the people who came before? Nine national flags fluttering outside the National Historical Site of Fort San Domingo depict how it has been under the jurisdiction of 9 powers. In the early 17th century, the Spanish occupied northern Taiwan and built Fort San Domingo here. The Dutch later built Fort San Antonio on the same site, which is the building we see today, and is also the best preserved and most northerly positioned colonial fort in the world. In the following 400 years, the Qing dynasty built a wall with 4 gates around Fort San Domingo, and for the first time, it was leased to the British as the British consulate. It was handed over to the government of the ROC in 1980. Having been under the jurisdiction of 9 different powers, Fort San Domingo is a microcosm of Taiwan's modern history. Time is like a river that flows incessantly, leaving marks and tracks on the banks of the Tamsui River. The 30-plus historical sites, renowned for their dense proximity to each other, are like bus stops in space and time, waiting to be discovered and explored. They are the highlights of Tamsui. Tamsui Historical Museum, Taiwan's first museum to distinctly feature historical sites, was conceived to link these highlights and to give Tamsui more cultural depth and nostalgic beauty. Through investigation, research, and revitalization of historical sites, the aim was to reflect the ancient splendor of Tamsui's historical sites and create a diverse Tamsui cultural park. Tamsui Historical Museum has 7 main sites: Fort San Domingo, Hobei Fort, the Tamsui Customs Officers' Residence, Douglas Lyprack and Company warehouses, Tamsui Art Gallery, Tamsui Plaza, and the Charm Family Abode by the Gongsi Tian River, and integrates more than 30 historical sites and buildings in Tamsui, thus promoting innovation and marketing overseas of local culture, with the aim of putting Tamsui's unique and precious historical site cluster and diverse culture on the list of World Heritage Sites. How should the rich history of this piece of land be interpreted? How can citizens be guided to absorb endless innovative energy from the diverse historical sites? To allow people to have a better understanding of Tamsui at the various museum sites, we also plan tours and various historical site experience activities and arts performances directed at different groups of people. In 1860, the port was opened to foreign trade. After that, the Qing Dynasty government established a customs office in Tamsui. The building, called Little White House by locals, was the Tamsui Customs Officer's residence. You might be curious about why a Qing-era official residence would be built in the style of a Western colonial building. The reason was that, to meet the trade needs of various countries, the Qing government began to employ Westerners to oversee customs affairs and built 3 buildings to serve as their official residences on the Foreign Trading Company block in Tamsui. Valuable historical materials and cultural relics from the time are now on display in the indoor customs exhibition area of the Little White House. When some ports were opened to foreign trade by the Qing government, Tamsui quickly became the most important port in northern Taiwan. The numerous foreign trading firms along the riverbanks creating an exotic riverside scene that stretched from Fenghuoduan, where the customs wharf was located, all the way to Bizito. Douglas Leiprack and Company warehouses has been restored and is now open to the public again. It has become a major landmark for learning about the meeting of East and West, Chinese and Westerners, in Tamsui, telling visitors about the history of the development of foreign trading companies and their architectural characteristics. The storage of Shell Oil Company behind the MRT station is another historical site in the cultural park that was open to the public after renovation, with the 2 buildings complementing each other at the 2 ends of the Foreign Trading Company block. This bell sounded the arrival of modern education in Taiwan. For more than 100 years, the Puding Bell has rung out over Tamsui, representing a dream of new beginnings and passing on of the old. At the end of the 19th century, missionary Dr. George Leslie Mackay arrived in Tamsui. He established Tamsui's first Western school and first girls' school, and became the vanguard of modern education in Taiwan. He also established Taiwan's first Western hospital, the Hubei Mackay Hospital, initiating the first Western medical treatment in Taiwan. Tamsui was the place where civilization originated in northern Taiwan. Did you know that it was also the first place in Taiwan various kinds of modern construction were seen? Hubei Fort was a new Western-style fort built by a Westerner who was commissioned by a Qing-era governor of Taiwan, Liu Mingchuan, as part of his reform policies. He also laid the first seabed cable between Tamsui and China, Fuzhou, starting a new era of communications for Taiwan. In the 50 years that the Japanese governed Taiwan from 1895, large-scale modern construction was carried out here more than anywhere else in Taiwan. The historical sites that cover the entire span of Taiwan's colonial history are densely situated around this river harbor town, spreading tier upon tier from the riverside up the slope. It is said that if you want to understand a city, first visit its museums. Tamsui is a living museum. walking its streets is like taking a walk back in time. When you climb the steps of Chongjian Street, has it ever occurred to you that the steps below your feet are part of a Qing-era street? After Tamsui was designated a port through which Chinese migrants could enter Taiwan, a large number of Han people flooded in. Tamsui's first temple, Fuyou Temple, was the center of early development. Chongjian Street, winding up alongside the temple, was the first Han street to develop in Tamsui. As time passed, these historical settlements, intertwined with the lives of the local people, grew and shared joy with them, also providing the nutrients for dreaming and innovation. Generation after generation of artists have, through painting, songs, music, literature, and other art forms, displayed the bright colors and rhythms of Tamsui and nurtured Tamsui culture's enchanting charms. To allow the integration of Tamsui's existing rich culture and innovative artistic energy to produce more beautiful, creative parks, in 2011, Tamsui Historical Museum's Tamsui Art Gallery opened, becoming a platform for exchange between artists from Taiwan and overseas. The souvenir shop in Fort San Domingo bears the heavy responsibility of being a powerhouse for culture-based creativity. Local culture-based creativity companies have been invited to produce products inspired by Tamsui's historical sites, which boosts the local culture-based creativity industry. Every October, Tamsui holds a bustling and joyful carnival. New Taipei City International Environmental Arts Festival kicks off with an art carnival. The main players in this arts festival are the local people. It involves tangible and intangible cultural assets and merges Eastern and Western, traditional and modern elements, bringing the favorable environment and artistic charm of Tamsui into the lives of every resident, and also attracting visitors from Taiwan and overseas. Tamsui was once the gate through which Western culture entered Taiwan, and from where Western religion, architecture, modern medicine, education, and painting spread to the rest of Taiwan. For hundreds of years, the waters of the Tamsui River have reflected Guanyin Mountain and also reflected the ever-changing history of the township. The crystallization of wisdom produced by the meeting of diverse foreign cultures, every historical site and historical building in Tamsui is deeply connected to the stories of missionaries, doctors, educators, artists, merchants, and residents in great times. Tamsui, this precious asset jointly formed by the cultures of various countries, is worth passing down to future generations and innovation so that it becomes a highlight amongst the world's cultural heritage sites, sparkling dazzlingly on the international stage.